Hey guys, it's Kate. Welcome to another speed build. In this video, I'm building a modern mansion on a 50 by 40 lot in StrangerVille. This isn't a StrangerVille build. I just decided to build in StrangerVille because for some reason I really enjoy building modern houses in kind of a desert environment. I have no idea how this happens all the time, but I really enjoy doing this. So I decided to build here. This is the lot where originally the plane is located with the bunker underneath. I just bulldozed the whole lot, but of course you can place this anywhere. This isn't a StrangerVille build. I just decided to use this lot. You could use any 50 by 40 lot or bigger lot if you want to actually use this house. And I started by building stairs in the front. I then added a basement, and here I'm using these little cubes that are part of Get Famous. This is just a surface. You could place something on top if you would like to, and I decided to place them in the basement. I sized them up and then erased them, and this way I was able to kind of hide a part of the terrain because there's always this little small slope that doesn't look nice. I really wanted this build to look very clean with a lot of straight lines. I did not want there to be a lot of terrain visible, so for this reason I decided to simply use this object, and this was a little bit tricky. It took a little while until it all looked the way that I wanted it to look, and the only thing that I really knew when I started building this was that I wanted to have some type of curved shape, and I knew that I would like to place them on the left side probably, and this was basically it. I just started building. I had no shape in my mind. I just thought, okay, I would just build this and see what's going to happen. This is probably where it just looks a little bit confusing where I'm building this. I mean, you saw how I started with the stairs and then I added the little fountain. Now I'm doing something on the right side. It was all a bit confusing, and to be honest, at this point I kind of liked what I saw, but I wasn't sure if this would be leading anywhere because sometimes I just start building and then it doesn't look good. But in this case, I really enjoyed how it turned out, even though it was a little bit all over the place and a little bit confusing. Here I'm using the same Get Famous object again. I sized it up, and I really wanted to have this type of shape, which is, I guess, pretty common for modern builds, and I feel like this is just a simple way to create this type of shape. And the window that I just placed in the front in between the arch that I created is a window that is part of Get Together, and it looks like the windows that we got with Get Famous, the modern ones, and I think it just fits perfectly to these windows. You can perfectly combine them, and these big windows are also part of Get Famous. With Get Famous we got a lot of kind of old-fashioned stuff that you would use for a castle. We also got a lot of modern mid-century stuff and just a lot of different things. Get Famous is a really good pack if you want to build something modern, so I used a lot of that, but I also combined lots of other packs with this. And then I just added this room, these two rooms on the right side, so I just kind of worked out the shape and it started to look like a house at this point. I placed it diagonally and I added a little chimney in the front. I felt like a chimney is a little detail that makes the front section look more interesting, and here I'm working out what I would like to do with the fountain. This was all a bit confusing. There are multiple levels going on. I placed the one room on the left side at the bottom, raised the terrain, placed the rest on top, and then I also used some foundations. So there's a little step next to the fountain. At some point it was really confusing, even for me, while building this, but I sometimes like to do it this way because then when you try to kind of make it all work and you connect it all and then you add some stairs here and there, it kind of all comes together, and this way you can create pretty complex, fun builds in my opinion. And for the roof I used this object that is part of Spa Day, I think. I just sized it up and placed it there. These are the little steps that I placed in the fountain at the bottom. So these don't work when you place them in a fountain. Sims won't actually be able to walk over them, but they just have this look. These type of little stones that you would place inside water so you could technically walk over it. It's not functional, but it looks really beautiful, and I like to size them up and use them for other stuff sometimes, and I used a lot of them for this build. So I used it for the roof, and I also used it for the roof on the building that I just added on the left side, but this was confusing. At first I really wanted to have some type of round shape there, but then I kind of decided against it, so I changed it up multiple times. I really had no idea what to do with that roof, and it was a little bit complicated at first. And I added lots of windows, so this is a really bright, beautiful building, and as you just saw, the windows that are placed at the bottom are technically too high, and at first I decided to just hide that, but then I didn't like the look, so as soon as I'm going to work on this room at the bottom later, I'm going to change the windows because this wasn't a cute look. And these things here are part of Spot A. These are huge columns. I sized them down, and this is how I created most of the round shapes. At first I really wasn't sure how to kind of connect that with the whole house, how to really make it work, how to attach this to the house. At first I planned to kind of really connect it to room, so it does look like a proper round room, but then I kind of decided against it, and I just used it as some type of fence, you could almost say. I guess I'm going to paint the terrain in between and place some palm trees, so it's just a beautiful fence that kind of goes around most of the lot, and I think it just looks so beautiful. So I have a nice combination of round shapes but also a lot of rectangular shapes, and this is just the contrast that I was going for. And I did the same for the colors. I used a lot of bright white, especially here in this world. The sun is shining, and it's just such a very, very bright white in combination with a lot of wood. So I have a nice contrast going on. And here I used the same object again, these little stones, these stone slabs that you can place inside a fountain. I placed them at the bottom just so I could add more detail, and I did the same in the front. Here I'm trying to hide more of the terrain, the little slope, and sometimes you really have to try a couple of times, just as I did, because it's difficult to kind of find the right position so it's not too low or too high. So if you're trying to do something like this, don't give up, just try it a couple of times until it looks good. This works fine usually. And here I added more of these things just to hide another section, and this is what I mentioned before, just like tying it all together, connecting everything and making it look good. And at this point I was really happy with how it all looked because it kind of made sense at this point. I still decided to add some boulders. You guys know I love to do that because I had no idea how to hide this particular slope, and I felt like because on the left side I'm going to place some palm trees, this kind of gave it a more natural touch, a little bit at least. This whole building like has a very clear shape, or these round edges, very clean edges. There is not much going on around it. It's just really standing in the middle of nowhere, and all the plants are placed inside the walls or the fences basically. So I think that this really kind of makes sense to at least include some natural elements inside the walls basically. I placed some stairs on the left side to connect the different levels. Of course I did the same on the inside just so your Sims can easily access any area. And here I'm working on the roof at the top again. As I said, at first I wanted this to be round, and then I decided against it, but I really like how it turned out. I added lots of columns all around. I mostly used wood walls at the bottom, so a lot of brown, and these red columns just add a little bit more white so it doesn't look too dark. I mean, this build is very bright, it doesn't look dark at all, but if you go too overboard with the dark colors, it could look a little too dark. This is just like the part that is very exciting for me. Sometimes I build a house and I really enjoy the shape, and then when it comes to adding colors, floor, wallpaper, all that stuff, suddenly I'm not sure what I'm even doing, and sometimes it kind of works out and sometimes it doesn't. But here luckily I was very pleased pretty fast, and here I'm adding more of these columns, just like another fence for example. And of course I also added these little stone slabs at the bottom, and this is where the garden is going to be located, so I kind of combined this. I'm going to place a swing set down there so it all kind of makes sense and is functional. And here I'm adding more rocks so it's really nice and neat so I could hide it all. And I also decided to add another fountain because I had added one at the top, so it kind of made sense to add another one there. and I used this beautiful terrain paint that is like grass with some pebbles in between almost. It looks really beautiful. And here I decided to use the little cube, the Get Famous cube again, and this is the point where I just added more and more details, so I kind of know what the house looks like. I have the shape going on, it all makes sense, and this is the point where I just try to make it look very refined and unique, and I just add more details to really make it look special and unique. It's all about the details in my opinion, and it's sometimes difficult to not use too many. I definitely use a lot, and I know that for some people this already might be too much, but just for my personal taste and style, I just kind of try to keep a middle ground. So I think when you don't use any details at all, it can look a little bit empty and boring unless you're going for a very minimalistic look. And if you use too much, it's just all over the place. So the most important part, in my opinion, is just kind of to find a balance, so it really looks balanced, and when you just look at it without thinking too much about it, it just looks kind of good. It makes sense, because some people are asking me, how do you do this, how do you approach it, but this is just how I do it. Just, I don't know, listen to your gut feeling, look at it and think, okay, something missing, is it looking empty, should I do more, is it too much, and just do you and have some fun with it, really. And here I'm working on the back. So I wanted to have a pool in the back because there are palm trees. I put this in the desert. Of course, as I said, you don't have to place it in the desert, but this is like a very typical beautiful mansion where a pool just belongs, in my opinion. I think this would actually be a good build for the pinnacles in Desert Valley, like a beautiful LA celebrity mansion kind of thing. And I added these palm trees. I sized them up, and one of them more than the others, so just like one big one in the middle, and it looks really beautiful. And I have to say that the floor plan was a little bit tricky. Here I'm starting to work on the interior, and as you will see, I changed it up a lot at first. So I was going for a interior that is mostly gray, white and black, because the outside is like very modern, and I really wanted to make the inside look modern as well. The floor plan was a little bit tricky because the house has kind of a crazy shape, to be honest. It's like this huge triangle, basically. This is kind of like the main shape of the right section where the living room and all that is located. It's a little bit confusing, so this is kind of how I solved it. I placed the sofa in front of the wall with this beautiful window that connects the living room area and the kitchen, and then I just placed a fireplace and a TV on the other side, and I placed a dining table there, and it's all very monochrome. This was the look that I was going for, but at the same time this can look a little bit boring, so eventually I really felt like including some color here and there, and I really wasn't sure what to do. I again used these stone slabs that are supposed to be used inside fountains but in front of the windows, and added some plants. And the kitchen is also very simple. I tried to make it quite small, like a decent size for a house like this, not too huge, because I used to build huge kitchens and I kind of still try to work on that, so it all makes sense. And I placed a shelf above the window so I could connect the cupboards a little bit, and then I started to incorporate color a little bit here and there. As you will see, I'm going to change the wall color where the sofa is sitting in front of. I also wasn't happy with the sofa, so I definitely changed a lot of things up, and it was a lot of fun to furnish this, but it was definitely challenging. And I built a little office corner because this kind of made sense. Even though the whole house looks big, it's only a 50 by 40 lot, and I didn't even use most of the space of the lot. And also I used a lot of space on the outside for the landscaping and the curved shapes. So the house itself isn't super big. I mean, it is a big house, it is a mansion, but it's not some type of 64 by 64 lot where I just use the whole space for the house or something. But it's definitely big, and I also built some huge bedrooms, including some bathrooms, so some en-suites, as you will see. And here I'm changing up the sofa eventually, because while the other sofa was modern, it was this mid-century modern type of look, and I wasn't really happy with that because the whole interior is very minimalistic and modern, so I wasn't really happy with the other sofa. And here I'm using curtains, and these are part of my first pet stuff pack. I'm really sorry, but I just had to use this pack. I rarely use it because I know a lot of people aren't really a fan of this pack, but sometimes I just have to use it because it's just something different. And also there are some cool things in that pack, to be honest. I know that it has a very bad reputation because people felt like that, of course, all that stuff should have been included in the cats and dogs pack in the first place, but even though it's such a controversial pack, there are still some amazing things. So if you own it and if you're still a little bit salty about that, I would say give it a chance and take a look at all the cool stuff. There's some cute sofas and the curtains. I really love the curtains. And here I'm working on a bathroom. I again used a lot of gray and black. This is like something that I did in the whole house. The bedrooms were the exception. I tried to incorporate a little bit of color, especially for the kids' room that I'm going to build soon. I placed 2 of these cupboards next to each other just so I have like one big huge cupboard and a little area where some can sit. This bedroom still looks very monochrome, but as you will see, the kids' room is going to be very colorful and fun. So this house has like really huge bedrooms, but I felt like I really wanted to have this typical mansion luxury feeling. Technically you could probably separate these rooms and make even more bedrooms out of this, but I was really going for this lavish, beautiful mansion type of feel. I included these huge bathtubs in the corner, and it's just like a nice place to stay for a sim, probably living the good life in this game. As I said, I think this would be pretty cool in Death Valley probably, but I didn't even think about this in the first place. But to be honest, as I said, when I started building this, I had no idea how this would even turn out. But now in the end, I have to say it really reminds me of a very typical, amazing celebrity mansion. I mentioned before, like a long while ago, that one of my guilty pleasures is Housewives of Beverly Hills, and to be honest, it's just so much fun to see all these houses. It's just amazing. Some of them look beautiful, some of them look tacky, but some houses are just amazing, really just beautiful. Especially, I don't know, for anyone who has watched this, the old house of Yolanda Hadid was just amazing. This house is just like the house of my dreams probably. However, here I'm working on the kids' room, and this is like very beautiful and pink, and it's huge for a kids' room. But again, I wanted to have a really typical mansion room, and when you have a huge mansion, it doesn't make sense to have huge rooms and a lot of space and then you just cram your kid into a small room, so to speak. So I was going for a very big kids room. I added a mirror that is part of the vintage Glamour stuff pack, and oh, here you can see the other windows. These are part of Spa Day, I think, because the other ones were too high, as I mentioned before. And because of the shape, there's just that long big hallway, so I kind of wanted to fill the space in a way that makes sense. So I added another office corner, so there are 2 office spaces in this house, one at the top and one at the bottom. And here's a little chest table, and I just filled the whole space with some areas to sit and decoration, but not too much because I was going for the clean modern look, and you just don't want to put too much stuff into this type of build, in my opinion, or it just doesn't look that minimalistic and beautiful. And this is the top floor here. This is the master bedroom. Other bedrooms, there are 4 in total, are pretty big and extreme and really luxurious, but this one is the master bedroom, in my opinion. It's at the top. There is just so much sunlight, and here you can really see the triangle shape that I mentioned before. Underneath here is the living room and kitchen area, so this is like a really special shape, and this made it really difficult to kind of furnish this and work out the floor plan, but I really enjoy how this turned out. And for this room I used a lot of black. The curtains on the wall, I think that these are part of Dine Out, and I just used a lot of white to just kind of combine it, and this is very minimalistic and modern again. And I think this is a kind of special build because this isn't like a very traditional family mansion, which I really enjoy building with a lot of kids' rooms. There are 3 bedrooms that are suitable for grown-ups and only 1 kids' room, but of course you could change that up if you would like. And here I'm working finally on the back. Here is the pool, and I used this floor. It's like dark black pebbles. I used the same in the front, and a glass table and a barbecue grill and just some decoration, so it just kind of fits all together. And I added some plants so it looks more green and just happy. Again, the garden has a really unique shape, just like the house, so I just kind of tried to make it work. Yeah, I added the swing sets, and this is a stone rock that is part of Get Together, and you can just use it to connect areas in the garden. I think it looks very beautiful, and just some lights at the bottom. And this is it, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, please like and subscribe, and I hope that you have a absolutely fantastic week. As always, you can find all the information in the description box down below in case you want to download this lot in the gallery. And I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye!